We've all heard the cliche, age is just a number. But let's get real. The calendar doesn't lie. Your joints don't lie. So why is it that some people flourish as they advance in years and others just sort of fade off into the sunset? I think so much of it has got to do with attitude. And today, let's talk about how to keep the old man out. I think even when I was just a little bit younger, my envisionment of what retirement would look like for me was that which I saw over and over again, primarily on media, and how the world depicted retirement and growing older and becoming elderly. It was that of an old man like me, sitting on the porch of my little house in a rocking chair, probably have a blanket over me because there might be a little nip in the air, and I've got my faithful dog sitting next to me, and we sit there day in and day out, and we watch the world go by, but we no longer participate. And worse, I would sit there and probably just reflect on the good old days, back when I could do this and I could do that, or I did this and I did that, and wasn't I something? And you know, the older I get, the greater I was in my own mind. And the world back then was my oyster. Well, I say that's the wrong attitude to have. When I moved over here to the Philippines, I did it because simply for economic reasons. It was a logical choice. I realized that on my Social Security and my retirement income, that I was not going to be able to live without some form of financial stress for the rest of my life, and I didn't want to have that. So I figured, if nothing else, let me relieve that pressure. And boy, oh boy, was I not only relieved of the financial pressure, but I actually feel like the world became my oyster again, because I was in a new environment. And suddenly, practically overnight, I was being challenged by things that I had never thought would happen. And it caused me to have to really sit up and pay attention and activate some of the brain cells that had gone dormant over the years and do new things that were totally out of my comfort zone and ended up being some of the best things possible. When I was sitting on that porch, do you think I was thinking about getting a motorcycle and roaring up and down the street? No, didn't even own a motorcycle in my older years. When I was a kid, I had a mini bike, and that was that. The first week that I was in the Philippines, I was renting a scooter. It was really my only choice if I wanted to have my own transportation. Talk about a mind bender. You get to this Philippines traffic, and you're driving around on this motorbike. I hadn't driven a bike in 50 years, and you know what? I made it. And I found that it made me more aware and more acute, and certainly made me sit up and pay attention. And it got the adrenaline pumping and the heart moving. And now, here I am 9 years later, and I'm buzzing up and down the street, not with the dog sitting next to me, but I got the dog sitting with me on the little scooter taking a joyride. The wonder dog. What about relationship options back home as an elderly guy? Well, what would that marketplace look like? I can pretty much guarantee you it wouldn't be Whole Foods. If I did meet somebody, I would definitely have to settle. And who wants to settle? I would rather live alone than be with somebody that I don't really blend in with or feel compatible to. I wouldn't want to wake up in the morning and say, "How are you doing, sweetheart?" and have her give me her blood pressure for the morning. "What's new, baby?" "Well, I'm 140 over 80. That doesn't trip my trigger. I, on the other hand, over here, have entered into a relationship with a woman that's 30 years my junior. And as opposed to telling me about her aches and her pains and her problems, she's up in the morning doing something like a TikTok video or running around by a pool somewhere taking 1,000 selfies of herself. Hey, wifey, what you doing?
TikTok exercise.
TikTok exercise?
Yeah.
Good way to start the day, huh?
Yes.
What would my social life have been like if I'd have stayed in that rocking chair? Well, I'm sure I would have been able to say hi, hello, how's your day going, how are the kids, to the immediate neighbors as I went out to the mailbox to get my new fresh stack of Groupons for the month. And I probably would have known the first name of the woman that worked behind the counter at the pharmacy as I went in to fill my 11 prescriptions for all these things that supposedly were killing me. And that would have been that. When I came over here, my social life exploded. I began to meet some of the most interesting people, and more importantly, like-minded people that they too had decided that they were not going to just fade off into the sunset. They were going to make their final years their best years. And being surrounded by people with that type of attitude, and not to mention being in a country with a very youthful population, has a way of seeping into your inner being, almost by osmosis. And you see them laughing and giggling and being somewhat childlike. And it has an effect on my brain that elevates me up to a level of happiness instead of a mindset of self-pity or loathing or regret. What's the takeaway from all of this? My personal takeaway is that after having walked for 71 years on the planet, not only do I have a fresh set of eyes of how the future truly lies in front of me, and instead of living in the past, I look forward to tomorrow and the next day and the next month and the next year. And I'm excited about what the future holds for me. I did not allow the old man to come in. I know that the old man wants to come and knock at the front door. And when you open it and you see the old man and he wants to come in, I would choose to simply slam the door and say, not today, pal. I've got too much living to do. I've got too much more of a future. I've got 71 years worth of wisdom. I've got a brand new start on my life. I'm going to enjoy every moment until I just no longer can. And so if I was you and you're wondering, do I still have an opportunity? I think through this video, I've stated some pretty good points that would tell you that yes, the world is still your oyster. Just because you've put in the time, doesn't that mean that you really deserve the fruits of your labor? Doesn't it mean that you should owe this to yourself? It's a chance to continue, not to just wither up like a pile of dust and then blow away. No, sir. Get out, get to living, get to doing, and for God's sake, when the old man comes knocking on your door and you open it up and you see the old man wanting to come in, slam the door. Not today, pal. Okay, I hope to see you guys in the next video.